مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله, the example of those that spend in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. في سبيل الله in the Quran Kareem, usually when it's used, it refers to جميع طرق الخيرات, all of those avenues of khairat, of goodness. Whether spending means building a masjid, whether it means spending on a madrasa, an Islamic institution, whether that means donating towards an awareness campaign, whether that means a person physically goes to fight for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether that means in spreading Islamic literature, whatever a person can think of, which falls under anything to do with deen, anything which is used for the upliftment of kalimah la ilaha illallah, anything which is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether that is to give to the poor, needy, whatever it may be. All of these will be fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the example of giving in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like the example of كَمَثَلِ حَبَّةٍ, like the example of a grain, أَنْبَتَتْ سَبْعَ سَنَابِلَ, which sprouts into 7 spikes or 7 ears. And when a person plants a seed into the ground, now there is a stem that comes out, and from that 7 spikes or 7 ears. In each of these spikes, then there are في كل سنبلة مئة حبة. There are 100 grains in each of these spikes. So one grain a person planted, and the yield was 700 grains. So the example Allah Ta'ala is saying that's the same example or similar example of giving in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person gives, for example, $1, then that $1 is more than $700, for example. في كل سنبلة مئة حبة. The point being that not the number in itself, that's not the objective, but the fact that a person puts in 1 grain, but that gives off many more grain. The yield is much more. What a person invests in this world as far as farming, that's the example. A person may plant something which is very small, and it gives yield which is manifold. So like that, Allah Ta'ala draws the example for people to understand that spending in the path of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is similar. That you will give something which is very little, very minute, and in our terms, quantitatively, it may be very small, but in the eyes of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, in the court of Allah Ta'ala, at the Day of Judgment, it will be considered to be manifold. في كل سنبلة مئة حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies many a fold for whoever He wills. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can, whether it's the 700, which is the example here, or more than that, or lesser than that, depending how a person's ikhlas is, their sincerity is, the situation a person is in. Wallahu wasi'un alim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wasi'un alim. As we mentioned before, that towards the end of the ayat, many times we see certain qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. These qualities are always, they have to do with the mawdu', the subject of the ayah. Wallahu wasi'un. Wasi'un, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has wasi', He has much. Yani a person may think that each person giving one dollar in the path of Allah Ta'ala, Allah Ta'ala is giving so much, another person gives more, and where will all these treasures come from? Allah Ta'ala is saying that don't think of it in your sense, that how much you can give and how much you reciprocate and how much you give to people. Allah Ta'ala is wasi', Allah Ta'ala has much more. Alimun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most knowledgeable of your intentions. Whose situation is what? And a person who is in a very difficult situation, that dollar of that person may at times be more valuable by Allah Ta'ala than $100 of someone else. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these criteria are for Allah Ta'ala. It's not for you and I to judge that we're going to judge that my dollar is better than your dollar. That's not for you and I. We give whatever we can give. But that's in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows in His ilm, based on that Allah ta'ala will reward a person. The connection of this ayah, the previous ayat that we were discussing was regarding ba'ath ba'd al-maut, right? Yani resurrection after death. That was the previous, the last 2 ayat that we were discussing before that of Uzair alayhi salatu wasalam passing by the dead, the village, and then Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam's his encounter, yani his asking Allah Ta'ala of showing him how Allah Ta'ala will give life. So these two ayat are connected. How so? Mufassir mentioned that over there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the dalil and proof of that people will be resurrected ba'd al-maut. Now our question, what the believer should think is, okay, what will give me benefit in ba'd al-maut? What can I do in this world? What can I do in this world that will, number one, give me nafa and benefit in the hereafter? So Allah Ta'ala gives one example, which is sadaqat and spending in the path of Allah Ta'ala. And the other way it's also connected is that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, if a person, if we don't know again the nature of this world, if a person thinks that there's this hard ground, solid ground, but through this one seed, how does Allah Ta'ala bring out something so feeble? Once the stem comes out, a little kid can come and break it. If a little child comes and takes the plant, he can break it with his own hands. Right? But how did Allah Ta'ala give it so much power that it tore through the ground? A small habba, a small grain, through that something as feeble as a stem, but that tore through the solid ground. Just as you and I, we don't think about these things. Why? Because to us it's normal. But sometimes if you sit down and think, how do these things happen? In each of these, the system of Allah Ta'ala, you see the qudra and the power of Allah Ta'ala. So like that there's also the same similitude that Allah Ta'ala will also bring people back to life in the same way. Allahu wasi'un alim. Now, how will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which sadaqat will be accepted? The next ayah, Allah Ta'ala, the Quran Kareem explains that whose sadaqah, whose spending in the path of Allah Ta'ala will be accepted. الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, those that spend in the path of Allah. ثُمَّ لَا يُتْبِعُونَ مَا أَنْفَقُوا مَنًّا وَلَا أَذًى. They do not follow up their giving in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with two things. Number one, mannan. Mannan means that a person counts his favor upon someone else. Those of you that are familiar with Urdu, you will say ihsan jatlana. Mannan means ihsan. Any a person, you do good to someone, you give them some benefit, and thereafter you count it that, hey, I'm the one that gave this to you. Wala adha. Adha literally means to harm. Mufassir mentioned that harming by, again, a person shows pride and shows arrogance over the person that they're giving to. Anyone is giving, that person gives. But that giving also has to be done with the correct sifa, with the correct qualities. So you don't give and then thereafter use that as a favor. You don't give and thereafter keep on reminding that person that, remember I gave it to you, remember I gave this to you. Because then that becomes even more difficult on the person. Rather, as in the next ayah is going to come, rather don't give in the path of Allah. Rather don't give, if that's going to be the situation. لا يتبعون ما أنفقوا منا ولا أذى. If this quality is found, then the previous مئة حبة that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave, that so much مضاعف reward a person will get. لهم أجرهم عند ربهم, for these people. لهم, only for these people. أجرهم عند ربهم, they shall have their reward by Allah Ta'ala. ولا خوف عليهم, there shall be no fear upon them. ولا هم يحزنون, nor will they have any regrets. لا خوف عليهم, going towards the qiyamah, going towards an abode which a person knows nothing about. If you're going to a new place, usually there's a fear. What will happen? Who will be there? Who's going to take care of us? What are we going to eat? لا خوف عليهم, they don't need to fear about it. Allah Ta'ala will take care of anything. ولا هم يحزنون, what you're leaving behind. Usually when you leave your family behind, then you're sad. Oh, we're leaving my children, my parents, etc. لا هم يحزنون, they have no need to have any remorse, no regrets. قول معروف, saying a good word. And if you cannot give to this person right now, you don't have the ability, then just say قول معروف, say good words, and may Allah Ta'ala give you rizq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make your situation easy. Hopefully, inshallah, next time I'll give if I can. So whether it's giving to the fuqara or people coming to ask, or organizations, they ask for donations, so there's no need for us to reply the way, what is this always asking, always asking. If you can give, give. If you cannot give, no problem. May Allah Ta'ala will accept someone else's sadaqah. Allah Ta'ala will accept someone else's giving. قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ. مَغْفِرَةٌ, overlooking. Sometimes people are persistent. Sometimes beggars are persistent. They will keep on asking you. So maghfirah, overlook it. Then no problem. You're in a difficult situation. Allah Ta'ala make it easy for you and overlook his shortcomings. خَيْرٌ مِّن صَدَقَةٍ, to do this, it's better مِّن صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُهَا أَذَى, giving with, as we mentioned before, أَذَى, to harm someone by verbally saying that, oh, you're like this, here, take it. take it and leave me alone, saying words which are incorrect, which come off as su'ul adab. Wallahu ghaniyyun halimun. Now these two sifat of Allah Ta'ala, these two qualities of Allah Ta'ala, what's the connection? Wallahu ghaniyyun. Ghaniyyun literally used for someone rich. Yani Allah Ta'ala is independent, He doesn't need your sadaqah. You don't want to give, don't give. Wallahu ghaniyyun, Allah Ta'ala doesn't need your sadaqah, you need to give sadaqah. As we mentioned multiple times, why do we give sadaqah? Why do we do whatever we do? For me. I give zakah for me. I give sadaqah, I donate, I give to different turuq al-khayr for myself, for my own benefit. Halimun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't take a person to task immediately. Allah Ta'ala gives respite. Maybe this time you didn't do it with the right quality. Maybe you were insincere this time. Next time you will give it, you will give it in the right way. Halimun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is patient with His ibad, with His bondsmen. He doesn't take us to task immediately. And if Allah Ta'ala was to take us to task immediately for our wrongs, there will be no one alive today right now. No one will be sitting over here. Allahu ghaniyun halimun. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O believers, la tubtilu sadaqatikum. Again, Allah Ta'ala emphasizes this, that do not, la tubtilu, do not nullify your sadaqat bil manni wal adha, by boasting and by showing off to others, or by coming off as giving boastful reminders. كَالَّذِي يُنْفِقُ, just like the one who, كَالَّذِي يُنْفِقُ مَالَهُ رِئَاءَ النَّاسِ, like the one who spends رِئَاءَ النَّاسِ, showing off to others. And just as you know that showing off and doing something insincerely, not for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is wrong. Similarly, giving sadaqat with the wrong qualities, not with, following it up with showing and giving boastful reminders, that is just as bad. كَالَّذِي يُنْفِقُ مَالَهُ رِئَاءَ النَّاسِ وَلَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ, like the person who gives showing off and he does not believe in Allah Ta'ala and the final day. Mufassirun say this refers to a munafiq. فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ. What's the example of this person? And remember the previous example was that person gives $1 with ikhlas, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it مئة حبة. سبع سنبلة and فيه مئة حبة. That becomes 700-fold. The example of this person who gives it بالمني والأذى or رياء, showing off, his example is كمثل صفوان. That example of a very smooth rock. Imagine a smooth rock. A smooth rock versus a fertile land. عليه تراب, and there is dirt on it. Now if there is dirt on a smooth rock and you plant something, is there anything going to grow? Nothing's going to grow. فَأَصَابَهُ وَابِلٌ, how rainfall comes. This rainfall is the example of the riya. The riya, the showing off, the man, adha, all of that is like the rain that comes, and it will wipe off all of the turab, all of the dirt, all of the soil. Meaning you're going to be left with nothing but a rock. It's not going to give growth to anything. There will be no yield. فَأَصَابَهُ وَابِلٌ فَتَرَكَهُ صَلْدًا, it will leave it bare. فَتَرَكَهُ صَلْدًا, it will leave it bare. So that sadaqah that was given with the wrong qualities, a person will get no yield out of it. لا يقدرون على شيء مما كسبوا, they will not retain anything, they will not get anything out of whatever they spent, whatever they wanted to earn. والله لا يهدي القوم الكافرين, Allah Ta'ala does not guide those that have rejected the truth. Make dua that Allah Ta'ala give us the ikhlas and sincerity. Inshallah, from next week the tafsir will be after Maghrib.